Share this one.
We get a lot of them.
Good, Todd. Yeah, everything is good.
Hanging in
You?
there. Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
What's that? Yeah, I'll probably play. I'll take that as a challenge. I'll sit behind you so I know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing either.
I know, I didn't either. Boom.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting for September the 4th, 2024. Call the meeting to order. And would you call the roll, please?
Gary Gross,
Yes. Here.
Jim Hall. Jim Hall,
Here.
Todd Moore,
Here.
Christopher Ambergy,
Present.
Jerry Heidenreich, David Cash,
Here.
Stefan Wanamaker.
Here.
All right, thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next on the agenda tonight is our meeting minutes from July 3rd and August 7th. Any revisions, changes to the minutes?
Yeah, I have one. July 3rd. Page 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the third paragraph, there was a discussion about pre-treating rather than preheating. We were talking about pre-treatment. And the next line, I don't have a clue. I think the microphone must be picking things up crazy. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion to accept the minutes as revised.
I move we accept the revised minutes.
A second.
Second. Is this for July?
July.
Okay.
July, yes. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gross,
Must abstain, I wasn't here that meeting.
Mr. Hall. Yes. Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy,
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich,
Yes.
Mr. Cash,
Abstain.
Mr. Wanamaker,
Abstain.
Any other changes for our minutes from August 7th? Any changes, revisions, additions? Okay. We have a motion to accept the minutes from August 7th.
So move. Second.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Abstain.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy,
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich, Mr. Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker.
Yes.
Just wanted to take a moment before we begin our hearing this evening. Want to welcome Ms. Claire Fetters to the city. Welcome to first night of Planning Commission as well. And we're glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
Happy to be here.
Well, this is our first case this evening. This is use variance 1124, a request by Jonathan Ambergy for a use variance for the property at 3415 Glencoe Avenue. Before we get started, Mr. Cash, would you like to swear?
Did you rate? No, not you, sir. You, yes, Claire. Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you.
So per the application submitted, the applicant wishes to construct a fence around the existing property and use the property for storage purposes. The purpose of the R4 attached residential district is to provide for moderate to high-density residential development generally located in the core area of the city, which reflects the historic urban development pattern in and around downtown Middletown. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 1204.8, Table 1204-3, storage is prohibited within the R4 zoning district. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for variance requests, and meeting notice letters for the proposed use variance were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street of public right-of-way of the subject property. And I do want to clarify that I did receive a phone call from a neighboring property of this, and they did, I wouldn't say concerns, there wasn't a ton of substance to the call, but this was about an hour and a half before this meeting, so. And that, would you guys like me to go into the variances part?
I would like to go back and say what the phone call was about. I didn't quite get that.
He either owns the property to the right or the left of this, the property in question, and he was actually out on vacation, I believe, and just got the letter today. And he was just asking if it was going to be permitted, and I just let him know I couldn't speak to that. It would be reviewed during this meeting. And I encouraged him to come if he had any opposition or support to voice that here.
So no specifics other than the fact he was concerned? Was that the extent of
It did seem like more concerning rather than support, but that's, I don't want to place words in anybody's mouth.
Right. Right.
Any other details regarding the case, Ms. Fetters?
I can go into the variance part, but that is about all I have for you.
Would you like her to read, if you would, just bring up the slide with the use variance criteria. Would we like to have this read to us, or are we comfortable with the use variance criteria that's before us now?
I'm okay with it.
Comfortable
Okay,
as it,
Yeah.
Okay,
we've had it read to us, so I think if we acknowledge that we understand it, I think we're good to go.
yep, fair enough. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the variance, please come forward. Mr. Cash will swear you in. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the variance, please come forward. Yes, sir, please come forward.
Right here, sir.
To the microphone. Yeah.
Yes.
Huh. It's okay.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Identify yourself if you would, please. All right.
So I own that lot.
See the microphone's up there, yes.
I own that lot, and when I got it, it was so overgrown that one side was touching the other. I mean, I cleared it out, you know. There was homeless people living on it when I got it. So I'm maintaining it, and all I'm storing there is a couple trucks, couple trailers, and some landscaping tools. I wasn't aware that it was against the codes and all that, but I'm just kind of, I guess, hoping that I can get approval to keep storing stuff there. Like I said, I'll keep it maintained and looking as good as I can. The only thing I can say is if I end up letting it go, it's probably going to turn into what it was, which in my opinion is a even bigger eyesore for the neighbors versus just a fence and a gate. So that's it. Just kind of hoping I can keep my stuff there.
So do you own any of the property located on either one of the sides, or you just own the lot?
No, but my aunt lives next door to it, and that's the reason I bought it, because, you know, I kind of got eyes on my equipment, you know, and stuff. So, and I've spoke with a few of the neighbors, and all the neighbors I've talked to doesn't have a problem with me. You know, they think it looks better like that than overgrown and all that it was. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's your call. I'm just here to try to hope that I can keep it. Because it's useless to me if you know what I mean, I didn't buy it just to mow the grass. But.
And you do mention a fence. You in your application itself, you mentioned a fence, permanent fence and a shed. Was that part of your intention there as well, to maybe just put something? I know you mentioned some landscaping tools and some other things.
Correct, yeah, weed eaters, blowers, you know, just stuff like that. Nothing crazy. Couple trucks and trailers, and that's about it. I put the one guy, I can't remember his name, but I called him on the phone and said, you know, what can I do to keep you guys off of me, pretty much. He said, put a fence up, we'll leave you alone. I put a fence up. I did it without a permit. I just didn't think I really needed to or whatever, but a week later I had a sticker on that about the fence saying I couldn't have a fence, so I'm like, what do I do?
What do you have stored behind your house at this point in time?
There's no house on that property. It's just
This
an
is just a vacant lot.
empty lot, yeah.
So you just want to use the entire lot? You want to fence the entire lot?
Well, it's already pretty much all fenced. I just put a privacy fence across the front with a farm gate in the middle.
Claire, could you put this back up there? No, this one. There you go. So the view that I'm looking here, am I looking from Glencoe through that lot which you own to that shed in the back in the front of a pickup?
Correct.
Okay, so that's yours, that vacant lot there.
Yeah.
And so I see that truck, shed's already there. Is that on your property?
Yeah. Yeah, and I put the fence.
I was going to say, Mr. Heidenreich just asked, where's the fence? I don't know where the fence
It
is.
wasn't there yet in that picture. I could
Okay.
probably find one on my phone if I look for a minute, but I put the fence going from the neighbor's fence to this fence, so it's the same distance back as their fences.
Are you talking about that picket fence on the right-hand side?
I can't really see it in the picture.
Oh,
but
okay.
No, not right there by the
three.
road.
I didn't know.
Pretty much in front of the black pickup truck is where their backyard fences are, and I just got it going straight across.
So your front line then is flush with the rear of their houses?
Correct. I kept it the exact same distance.
Have you been, I know we have a little code enforcement going on here, and I'm not sure whether they're in your neighborhood. Have you been notified by the city? Is there any violation with you having those vehicles and whatever else you have in the backyard, any violation that you've been advised of?
I had a paper about cleaning it up and stuff like that, and the vehicles being parked on the grass, and then that's when I talked to him, and I said, "What can I do?" And he said, "If you put a fence up, we can't see back there, pretty much." He said, "We'll leave you alone."
Who's that, your neighbor?
No, the guy I talked to
City?
at the city. And then a week later, after putting the fence up, there was a sticker on it, and I called him again, and he's like, "You can't put a fence up." And I'm like, "You told me to put one up, and now you're telling me I can't have one at all, even with a permit." But yeah, like I said, so it just that the only other thing I had there was about just cleaning it up because there was some firewood like lined up along the fence. I split firewood.
Well, if the city hasn't cited you for any violation that exists now with what you have on the property, is there any, since you're here to get a fence with a variance, is there any reason why just leave the property the way it sits?
Without a fence?
Yeah.
Well, that was the complaint, was the trucks and trailers being parked on the property.
Complaint by whom?
The city.
Were you issued a formal a citation?
Yeah, I got.
You have been issued a citation.
Yeah, correct.
For having what?
For
Inoperable vehicles or what?
Vehicles being parked on the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when he said, if you put a fence up, we can't see what you're doing. You know what I mean? And pretty much.
Who was this person you were talking to with the city?
I forget his name, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Okay.
But
How long have you owned this lot?
at least a couple years,
2 years?
at least 2 or 3. Yeah, I don't know exactly, but I'd have to look. But
You know about when you put that fence up?
a few months ago, because it was after April, I believe, and then that's when I got the sticker, and they postponed everything until this hearing. So
Was there ever a home there?
yeah, it got tore down.
Okay. Was that part of the land bank, perhaps, or
What's that?
when it was ripped down or torn down, was that part of a land bank? Or do you
I have no idea.
foreclosure, maybe?
Probably a foreclosure, if I had to guess. But
Okay.
so they
What's the square footage of this lot? I'm just kind of curious. I can't gauge from this.
to be completely honest with you, I don't even know that. I'd
Would it
have to try
accommodate
to
a 1,200 square foot home on the lot at all?
roughly. Yeah, I mean it's not very wide. You know, it's just it goes from like that edge right there, and then you can kind of see the difference in the grass right over there, and then it's just straight back.
Kind of see.
Yeah.
I thought a home was probably there at one time.
And originally they told me I couldn't, you can't build on it, is what they told me originally. And I'm like, well then, if I can't store stuff here and how I can't sell it, if no one's gonna, you know what I mean? It's useless to anyone else. So, but now they're saying you could build on it. So I don't know.
I think it's a buildable lot.
Yeah. But originally I was told you
District,
couldn't.
Well, you're in a residential there, so that's why I was kind
Yeah.
of curious if this case doesn't go your way, that seems to me that you would have some
Hopefully would
lot
be able to
split
sell
and
it.
other things potentially for this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But and that shed I had shipped there. You know what I mean? It's not like I didn't build it on the lot. I just had it shipped there. I put gravel down and set it right on top of it, and it just holds my mowers and weed eaters and stuff like that.
Is this part of a business?
I run my own landscaping business. Yeah.
So,
Bring
go.
anything to the zoning, a commercial business operating there?
I would have to look at that. I don't have it quite known to heart yet, but I can look.
And that that guy that I talked to, I don't know what he was like. You can't run a mowing business out of a vacant lot. And I'm like, my response was, all right, what if I sign it over to my aunt who lives next door? He said you can't run a mowing business on a vacant lot or without a house on it. I said, all right, if I sign it over to my aunt, then it'll have a house on it. And he said, oh, you still can't do that. And he told me that, he said, you can't run a business, a mowing business even out of your house. And I'm like, man, you can drive around in every neighborhood and see trucks and trailers and driveways. I mean, that didn't make no sense to me. Because
Your aunt does own the home next door?
she doesn't own it, but I know the landlord. I actually mow grass for him. He pulled up on me a week ago because he got one of them things in the mail from you guys. And he's like, I don't see no problem with it. I mean, I mow grass for him. So, like I said, everyone around there don't have an issue with me. I can't speak for all of them, but
The difficulty for me is, we've had issues with people parking vehicles on various lots around, and it always is an issue. And so I think this is, in my eyes, a bigger thought for us down here on the board as far as if we were to grant permission here, does that impact all the other places that may have storage, either vehicles or even outbuildings, or sometimes they bring containers that they park on places that they're not supposed to. And we've had discussions on those type of situations in the past, and I don't know how this relates, but it's in my head that it may have an impact somewhere.
Case by case, is it not, Counselor?
Yes, it is.
With that regard,
Well, that's good for this, but since it used to have a house there, and I don't know, I'm not gonna address the landscaping aspect of it, because I do know what he said, there's a lot of people that have landscaping business, or at least grass cutting businesses out of their homes.
my curiosity goes back to the fence. They told you to put a fence up, you did, and then they said you couldn't have the fence up.
correct.
What was the problem with the fence? Was it the makeup of it? Was it the height of it?
No, the guy told me, now, and like I said, I did put it up without a permit, not realizing it was an issue at the
Oh,
time.
no.
This is no, yes, I know that now. But I said, okay, well, I'll get a permit, and he said, even with a permit, you can't have a fence on a vacant lot. And I'm like, I don't understand that at all. I don't see the issue with that personally, but I don't make the rule. I don't know the rules, but.
Jonathan, one of the issues here, and when you look at the challenge, even if you put a fence, the intent is storage. And that's the struggle
Right.
we run into is fence, or no matter if it's the most beautiful fence we've seen out in the neighborhood, you're still going to run into the issue of storage. It's the intent, what you're intending to do there.
Right.
But I actually think you're probably setting in a better place than maybe you've given thought to. I mean, if you look at our review criteria, whether or not there's economically viable use, and you're setting on a lot in an R4. So it's not just a plot of dirt.
Right.
It has value.
Right.
I think we maybe need to work in a different way. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves in our hearing, but you're not at zero.
Right.
You have there's more that can be done here, but we want to continue the public hearing, but I just want to share that with you. That
Yeah, and I mean, if I, if you guys turn me down or whatever, then I hope to be able to at least sell it and get out of it, but.
yeah, there's quite a few options, I think.
Yeah.
But want to continue with the public hearing first.
Right.
Do you have any other location from which you operate your business other than this Glencoe Avenue? This is it.
No, and like, there's no office there or nothing.
I know, understand that.
Currently I live in New Lebanon. I've lived in Middletown my whole life. I moved to New Lebanon, and it's just kind of a far travel. Most of my work is Middletown, Springboro, and stuff like that. So that's the purpose of trying to store my stuff here. And yeah, I really have nowhere else to store it at this time.
Do we have any other questions? Any other questions at all?
risk of sounding cynical, on your, number one here, it's the last line that you write is, "I will keep it looking nice." What are you gonna do if this is approved? What will you do different than you have in the last 2 years?
Well, make sure I keep things picked up. Like I said, there's firewood, so I'll make sure I keep that organized and kind of unseen, you know, make it not visible to the road, which it already isn't with the fence there. Other than that, not park any vehicles on the outside of the fence and just keep the grass cut and keep it maintained.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay,
Mr.
anyone else?
Chairman, I have a few comments, if it might be helpful to the board. The applicants own the property, just from Butler County Auditor's records, for 3 years. The lot's about 7,400 square feet, if, again, from county records. And I think the issue that the board is grappling with is the fact that there's no principal use on the lot. It's in an R4 district, a residential district, but there's no residence or any residential use on the lot. So hence the fact that you're being asked for a use variance to convert it from, you know, a residential use to a storage use.
Can I follow up a segue to that? Do you know if there is a pending violation against Mr. Ambergy
I do not
for a
know.
storage violation?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information.
All right, I just didn't know if that had been researched.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the proposed variance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And yeah, we want to open it up for discussions. I see staff analysis. I know our practice has been, Ms. Fetters, you're new tonight. Common practice now is staff is not making a formal recommendation in terms of Board of Zoning Appeals cases, so we would just move to deliberation. So,
I think he's doing the best he can with what he's got. I don't know, the advice he's received seems to be a little jaded over the period of time that he's been involved with this. So to me, I think he's trying to do the right thing. I would like to see that there may be some plans futurely, or in the future, to build a residence on there. That would at least make the value of the lot and the residence, because it looks like it could fit in the neighborhood. Any other side of it is I
The
don't
issue
think,
we have is, can he use it for storage?
yeah.
And I think that's a pretty black and white
It's a use variance.
issue.
Make a use variance.
Yeah. I mean, this is R4 residential, and we've got Mr. Ambergy running his business out of this property, and fence or no fence, it's I guess it's a zoning violation to begin with.
Well, that's why he's asking for a variance.
Well, but if the fence goes up and the storage continues to be in violation of the zoning ordinances, not the fence. I mean,
But if he had a house in front of it, did he allow buildings in that neighborhood?
not according to R4.
I just wanted to say that I can appreciate the, you know, trying to have a small business. I completely understand that. I think, however, as I mentioned earlier, I think you're perhaps sitting in a better position than maybe you're thinking about here. The size of the lot, that there is a lot of infill housing that is coming to Middletown, and you have a viable lot in an R4 district. I think that you have some opportunity here to market this site if you don't want to keep it, or work with staff for lot split or other alternatives. But the challenge is that in an R4, unfortunately, trying to ask for a use variance just for storage itself is something that is against the code, and it's an unfortunate circumstance of where you're at there. But I actually think you have a lot of opportunity with this particular site. And I would encourage you to think about maybe those things as you work through this issue. But I wouldn't be in favor, unfortunately, of supporting it to change to anything other than R4.
To follow up with that, excuse me, my personal opinion is, it makes perfect sense. It's a nice lot. And, I drove by it. It is a nice fence. It does look clean and well kept. But again, the issue here is the use, and storage is just not allowed in the R4 district. But like I said, it does make sense, but at the same time, if that is not allowed, there is a path forward as far as there's sales to neighbors, sales to builders, building yourself. I think there are some economically viable uses that will come from this. I just don't think storage is probably the best one. With that being said, if the board doesn't mind, if there's any more discussion, I'd like to make a motion. And I will say reluctantly, but I move to deny the use variance application.
Based on A?
Based on A, that there are other things they could do with that lot. Just right now, a use variance for storage is not one of them.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Gross,
Yes to deny.
Mr. Hall,
Yes to deny.
Mr. Moore,
Yes, to deny.
Mr. Ambergy,
Yes to deny.
Mr. Heidenreich. Mr. Cash,
Yes to deny.
Mr. Wanamaker.
Yes to deny.
Thank you. All right, this moves us to our next case this evening. This will be case number 1224, a request by Dennis Beatty for an area and dimensional variance for the property at 2902 Goldman Avenue to construct a new single-family home. Ms. Fetters, I'll let you take the case from here.
The applicant wishes to construct a new single-family home on the property. A dimensional variance is requested for an additional 9 feet on the west side of the property, where the proposed home is set back 21 feet from the public right-of-way. The property is in the city's R4 attached residential zoning district, where the required front yard setback is 30 feet. The purpose of the R4 attached residential district is to provide for moderate to high-density residential development generally located in the core area of the city, which reflects the historic urban development pattern in and around downtown Middletown. According to the applicant believes they qualify for a variance due to the exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of the specific piece of property. The Middletown Development Code stipulates a 1,500 square footage requirements for new homes, making it challenging to meet setback requirements on the available infill lots. The applicant asserts that the request aligns with the neighboring residences. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for variance requests, and meeting notice letters for the proposed area and dimensional variance were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street of public right-of-way of the subject property. No comments have been received at this time.
Any questions from the board before I open the public hearing? Well, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that question. You'd have to work with the city staff and reach out to Ms. Fetters and others, and, yeah. So that's okay. That's
Okay.
Any questions from the board regarding the case before I open up the public hearing? Okay. All right, we'll open the public hearing at this time. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the variance, please come forward. Mr. Beatty, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Identify yourself, Dennis.
Dennis Beatty, 1900 First Avenue, local architect. Dickie bought this
property. It's one that a house was torn down. Middletown requires a 1,500 square foot house. So it's hard to get a nice house with a garage on there. It was a detached house with, as you can tell, with a back garage. Dickie's built quite a few houses in Middletown. Doesn't do detached garages. This is sort of his style. I designed the house for him. We're looking at a 9-foot that we just couldn't make the house any skinnier and keep the bedrooms the size that they had to be per code. It's not that big of a house to start with. You can see the houses next door are not that much smaller. But I did make up a little map today, and there's at least 9 or 10 houses that set on a corner, and 9 or 10 of them don't have 30 front and 30 side. So that's why we're asking for the variance. We're trying to get this house built for Mr. Miller, who is a veteran, and so he's going through the process now of getting his veteran's loan. But it's an infill house. I don't know if you all know Dickie Brandon, but he builds a beautiful house. He makes my drawings look good because just the way he finishes it. So I know it'll be a plus for the neighborhood, and it'll be plus for the veteran. That's pretty simple. We need 9 feet to make it work. And I can pass this around if people want to see how many other lots that I picked out that are not meeting today's code. And I realize they were built years ago, but it's not something that we're the only one in the neighborhood going to be that close to the property line. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, what will the distance be on the yards?
21 and 30, 21 and 45.
21 and 45?
Yeah, 45 is the front setback, and then 30 is supposed to be on the side, but it's 21. So we're asking for 9 feet.
Was the original house that was taken down on that a similar footprint as far as not being up to code?
Well, you can see the original house in the white, and then our house is the bigger, the black line.
Oh, okay.
You see it? And it had the white detached garage there at the back.
I think that used to be a Armco steel house.
Was it one of the old Armco?
Yeah.
Yeah, the metal houses. Yeah.
Looks like the property line was 21 feet there too.
Yeah, it was 21, 22 feet, right. That's why I said there's quite a few, I can pass this around, but there's quite a few lots that don't meet, from my eyes, looking at the map, that don't meet 30 and 30. And that probably wasn't the rule back then, but I mean, it is now. But you're talking about trying to get affordable housing or more affordable housing in Middletown. We have a builder that's willing to do that for people. And I think the 21 foot doesn't really hurt anybody.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Beatty?
I just want to make a note that he notes in here, they're going to use existing water and sewer taps in the property.
That's typical standard for Middletown. Yeah.
Whenever possible, right?
Yes. As long as we can find the connection and the tap's still there,
It also
Middletown.
has a lot to do with what you can put on that.
Well, correct, yeah. But most of the houses that Middletown's tearing down, they leave the connections for the water and the sewer. The only thing you have to worry about is the gas.
But it does impact the design,
Well, yeah,
the architecture itself, that's all I'm.
yeah, we came off the front where it was before, correct.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Sir, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Identify yourself if you
I'm
would.
Dickie Brandon.
Thank you.
Y'all might know my son, Philip Brandon, at Brandon Homes.
Oh, yeah.
I've been building in Middletown for over 30 years. I built tons of houses, most of them in the target neighborhood. Back then, they called them target neighborhoods, the number streets, the undesirable areas. After retiring and passing the company on to my son, he builds higher-end homes like I used to do. But now, I'm a 10-year Army Special Ops veteran. And, my son just built a house for veterans in Lebanon. And so I hold veterans very close to me because I'm a veteran. And this particular home is going to be catered to a veteran. It's going to be a ranch-style home. I'm currently building the same house on Lamberton. It's 1844 square foot, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, with handicap accessible doors for wheelchair accessibility. The dentists have designed all my houses for over 30 years, and I've never had a complaint about the design or anything. I think he was here once before to get a variance on a house that I was trying to acquire the property from, that I just built one on 14th Avenue. Now, it might stick out like a sore thumb, but it's doing more than one thing. It's providing affordable housing, is increasing the property value, along with what the city is coming through and making people repair their houses, which is a phenomenal thing. A lot of people might not think so, but me as someone who holds Middletown and that area in Pacific to heart, is a great thing what they're doing, because it's going to increase everybody's property values, and that's what we want. We want these lots that the city owns for us to stop paying taxes on them and do something with them. The gentleman that was just here, I said, if he can't do anything with his property, I'll buy it from him. And I'll put a house on it, he gave me his card, but that's what we need. We don't need sheds, we don't need, stuff like that on vacant lots. We need houses, affordable houses, because you well know that house that was on there was a old Sears house, an Armco house. Mm-hmm. As you know, it was a metal house, all metal. It's probably like 3 of them still left, one on 14th, one over by Monarch. There's a couple left, So the taps are existing on the property. It's going to be a beautiful house. And if you have any questions about how the house is going to look, we start framing on Lamberton today, and it'll be the same house. Like I said again, affordable housing now. When I started doing this with Habitat was 40, 50,000. Well, that same house that I built, I was the only one building on that side of town when Habitat was building. And then, of course, y'all well know Habitat is not building in Middletown. I couldn't even donate a lot to them. They don't want to come back. And that's a problem in itself, because we do need more affordable housing. But affordable now is 230,000, 250,000. That is the affordable price for a starter home now. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it is what it is. That same house back in, I think, Dennis, back in 99 cost me 50,000. Now it costs me almost 200 to build, So I ask that you grant this variance for me, where I can continue building nice, affordable housing. If you have any questions about any of the houses I built, let's look around in the target area and you'll see everything I built stands out. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
I'd just like to thank you for your service and what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got a comment too. I know exactly which house you're talking about on 14th, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed variance, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the variance, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Move to deliberation. But we've certainly had some very good work done by Mr. Beatty and Brandon Holmes. I think this will be no different, so I would be in favor. We want to cite a review criteria for the record, but I certainly would be in favor of approving. If you would, bring the area and dimensional variance criteria up. It is similar, but if we could just state for the record the review criteria.
Yeah, 1 or 2. Without the variance, there's no real beneficial use of the property.
Someone would need to make a motion if we are ready to make a motion and cite the review criteria.
I would move that the variance be granted and citing review criteria A1 and 2, which has already been discussed.
And I'll second.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich? Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, this moves us now to our third hearing this evening. This will be case number 1324, a request by applicant Thomas Bundren for area and dimensional variance to allow for a carport in the home's side yard.
Per the application submitted, the applicant requests to install a 20-foot by 20-foot size carport in the front of their detached garage located in the property's side yard. The applicant specifies that they need additional covered parking for their automobiles. Per section 1206-1, accessory uses and structures of the Middletown Development Code, carports are only permitted in the home's rear yard. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for variance requests, and meeting notice letters for the proposed use variance were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. No comments have been received at this time. Please see the attached application.
Any questions from the board before we get started? We'll open the public hearing now. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposed variance, please come forward. Mr. Cash will swear you in.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Identify yourself if you would.
Tom Bundren, 2811 Armco Drive.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm here. I went to get a building permit. They turned me down. Said that they give me 2 or 3 reasons why they turned me down. One was you can only have one structure on a residential property that houses vehicles. I don't know. And here I just seen when I got this paper that it says you can only put a carport in the backyard. What if you don't have access to your backyard? You know, and I just wanting to set this right in front of my existing garage where most of the people or cars driving up down the street won't even notice it, you know. And it's not going to have a front on it. It's not going to have sides. It's just going to be a roof. And it's a metal carport, and it's anchored to the driveway. So, and it says here that it's in the side yard. Well, if you look at the picture aerial shot of my house, it's actually would have been in the backyard at one time where I'm wanting to put it, because it's I built a garage there and put it behind the old existing garage, which was in my backyard at the time. And this would be sitting right in front of it and only come to the original edge of the house, maybe a foot beyond it.
Ms. Fetters, do we have a picture? It was included in our packet. I was just wondering if we could show there. Thank you very much. So looking at this picture here,
Right.
If we were to come out from your garage, can you identify, I know it's 20 by 20, I think is what's proposed.
Right.
So,
Do you see where the downspout is on the house there beside that truck? It's gonna come to about approximately a foot beyond that downspout, which the downspout is on the corner of my house. My original house. I've built a room on the back also, but that's where it's gonna come to. And it's gonna be about where the porch light is, almost where the two porch lights are, is where it's gonna come to sidewise. And like I say, it's not gonna have a gable end. It's not gonna have sides on it. It's just gonna be a roof.
it's just an open carport.
Right, and it's gonna be anchored to my driveway.
What, and staff, you might be able to, or Ms. Fetters, you might be able to help on this one. So I know one of the challenges, I'll be honest with you, these are always challenging cases when these come, the carports themselves, because I tried to look at the code 120601, and you referenced in your application itself where you talk about whether it be freestanding or attached, and there is some, code's a little tricky there in terms of it being detached or attached. And there's a 25%, gets into the scale of what's being proposed, some of those details, but that's where it gets a little, I think what you're saying here is I'm not certain that it could be done without it being attached necessarily, or if that.
Well, I asked that's what they told me, that I could build an attached addition onto my garage. And I asked them if I could attach this metal carport to it. And they told me no, but what would be the difference?
So I do know that there has to be at least a 6-foot separation between other accessory uses on the property, so like the garage and the house actually. So
I went around my neighborhood and I got several pictures of other places, other residents just in my neighborhood that have the same kind of carports in the same place as what I'm wanting to do. This one here, that's on Barnett Street. Here's, if you want to see them, I got one here on Mormon Place that's right beside the house, just like in the driveway, just like I want to do. I got this guy on University. He's got one in his yard, and he's got another carport attached to his garage and another garage in his yard. And I mean, that's just what I can find in my neighborhood. I'm sure if I drove around town more, the original one I saw was on Lafayette. It's right on the very front of his garage, comes out almost to the street, and it's attached to his garage. So, but you know, like I say, the average car going down the street passing my house is not going to notice that carport.
So the intent here, though, it would come from behind, it would be in the back, it comes up to about where the gutter is here, it's 20 by 20.
Yes.
But you do want to anchor it to the concrete.
Yes, it will be anchored to the concrete. It's just a metal garage. It's rated for 100-mile-per-hour winds and so on and so forth, you know.
Question for you. On your drawing, I believe it's your drawing,
Yeah.
that you said it's approximately 5 foot to the property line, I guess the side property line?
Yes, uh-huh.
How does that, based on your drawing there, is it like a foot inside the edge of the garage then?
Yes, it's at least a foot in.
Of course, you're not the scale, so it's hard to tell.
Right.
So you got a 2 foot on the house side,
Yes.
and that's only because of the distance that I guess 20 feet from.
Yeah. And you see, when I built the family room on, I set it a foot in on each side, so that gave me 3 foot. You know, and I had to put that L in there because I built that other garage first, and I had to meet code. You know, that's why I got a L in my room addition.
Now, that 3 foot on the top there, between the carport and the garage, is that an open gap, or what is?
That's an apron where my garage is actually sits a little bit higher than my driveway. So I just set it right in front of that apron. And that's where the original one-car garage that I tore down a long time ago was.
Well, how long have you lived here?
I've lived in that house since '76. Born and raised Middletown, Ohio. Worked 30 years at the blast furnace at the mill.
I'd like to clarify, you said if it is up against the accessory structure, which the garage is, it has to have 6 foot separation.
Yes.
So that would mean he'd have to move it closer to the street by 3 feet.
Yes. Based on that apron. Yeah.
Did you understand that? It's gonna have to come.
No, I didn't catch that.
It's gotta be 6 foot away from the front of your garage or overhang of the garage. I don't know what it's got.
I don't have an overhang on the front.
And I think it might need to be 6 feet technically from the house as well.
Well, the
Is
house
that
is an
correct?
accessory structure, is it?
No, it,
But the language is from all other buildings on the lot.
So we're up against 3 foot from the garage and
Right.
2 foot and 3 foot from the house.
Yes. I mean, it's a metal structure. I mean, it ain't gonna burn. You know, I bought a brand new truck. I wanna put it inside. I got my garage full. So, you know, and it rains dirt in Middletown.
Your access to the garage would be straight through this thing, apparently, to get in and out of your garage with a car.
Yes, uh-huh.
And that's one of the reasons for positioning.
And I'm putting it on 7 foot legs. So it would, the peak and the pitch of the roof will be above my garage door. And it also will match the pitch of the roof of the garage. It's a 312 pitch.
Of course, you can go into the house in the back because there's no sides on this thing.
Right, right.
Okay.
Sharpen our pencils.
Any other questions?
Is the 5 foot setback from the side property line, is that okay?
I was gonna say that is okay from the property line. It has to be at least 3 feet from the property line.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yep. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the variance, please come forward. Okay, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the variance, please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Move to deliberation.
I just wonder with the roof line there, how much water is gonna be coming off of that roof towards the house, and if it's snow, what happens that way? I guess it's not our place to worry about it, but you got a pretty big set roof, and it's coming, half of it's coming towards the house. Of course, it can be removed, I guess, if it became a problem.
So in this case, I think Ms. Fetters, you mentioned that it would meet the 5 feet as it's listed here, setback, and then, is it 3-foot setback?
Yes.
Okay.
From the side? So that's met. Next.
I know, again, I'll be honest with my colleagues here, these are always tricky in terms of just trying to work your way through the accessory attached and detached. I think when I look at this, I see this as a practical difficulty where I'm trying to allow some flexibility for Mr. Bundren. It's where he has proposed and it being open. I'm leaning more towards granting the variance in this particular case myself, since it would be I think that it does set, and originally when I was looking at this, I was wondering how far this would be in the driveway, where this would be positioned. But the location of it itself, I think that he's asking for some minimal relief to be able to have a carport. And I'm trying to accommodate that for him the best I can.
To follow that, I mean, I think the intent of that code specific to carports is to prevent situations, like he mentioned, where they're right on the street, and eye-open view. They're good structures, but they're not pretty structures. And also, too, I believe probably the intent to have them in the rear yard is under an assumption that there is not another structure there. So they want a carport to be set behind, like most detached garages are in Middletown. That being said, I'm, along with Mr. Moore, that I'm leaning toward granting the variance. If the board would come to that decision, I would think that criteria 9, where there still is the spirit and intent behind the code, it is hidden, it is not causing any other issues I'm sure that the code was trying to prevent. So that would be, my recommendation would be the variance, the criteria 9.
I do have a question on that step up, the 5 or the 6 feet from the existing garage. Are we also including that in the variance?
Yeah, it's only 3 feet right now.
Right.
I would say, do we need to,
We're going to grant the 3 feet?
I guess, in a motion, would it need to be addressed? Would setback from access from other structures need to be addressed as well?
It hasn't technically been applied for or noticed to the neighbors. I hate to be a stickler on that because I had the same thought, but those procedural steps should be followed, strictly speaking.
Is that something we can do preemptively? As far as granting a variance before it's applied for?
Well, that's an interesting question. I suppose the board could handle the issue tonight about side yard, rear yard, indicating your openness to changing the 3 feet to the 6 feet, should the applicant come back and request that. I don't think I'd vote on it before it was applied for.
Go ahead and come back, yeah.
If you're gonna have me move it 6 foot from my garage instead of 3 foot, then does it come into play this, where it would come to my house, how close it would be to my house?
Wouldn't be any closer than the front edge of your proposed carport is now, would it? Because the way it's drawn now, the closest it comes to the house, the carport is 2 feet.
It's 2 foot,
2
yeah.
feet. So all that would be doing would be extending that 2-foot gap between the
Yeah,
carport and the house just another 3 feet toward the street. So it's not
yeah.
changing
I'm
anything
talking
as far
about
as.
side of the carport versus the side of my house.
Either one would-
I understand why
either-
you're wanting me to move it back to a total of 6 foot from the garage, but wouldn't that same thing come into play beside my house?
Right.
Yes? No?
It would, but that's something that we were discussing
Oh,
at another variance of.
If you go, can we get the view of the house with the truck on it?
Yeah, there you
The way I look at this thing, your carport is gonna be, your truck's gonna be sticking out the back of that if you parked it in the same spot. You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Closer to the garage.
Right, yeah. I mean, if I run my truck up to the edge of the apron, then, you know, it would be covered. Where that truck's parked, no, it wouldn't be covered. Because I'm back.
Right.
I was back a little ways from my garage.
Yeah, but the thought I've got is you're already probably less than 2 feet from there where you're parking your truck.
Right.
So if you did bring it forward, it wouldn't really hurt your functionality.
Right.
But I'm more supportive of letting you have the 3 foot,
Yeah.
not having to bring it forward.
Yeah,
in the
I think if
backyard.
it comes back further, then it makes a problem getting in and out of it, you know?
Yeah, but that's not part of the variance, so we're kind of stuck right now with that part.
My only concern would be moving it forward 3 foot to give the 6 foot, in my opinion, just with my Realtor hat on, would not be as good just because you start blocking windows once you
Yeah.
get closer to that window. So honestly, the 3 foot would probably be still beneficial at this point.
And then the question to us is, I guess, can we grant that 3 foot in this particular variance? And that's maybe their answer, I don't know. I agree with
I
you.
would think that we can. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. Get clarification on that.
Yeah, I think just because it wasn't applied for specifically.
Yeah.
I got a question. You got a 16-foot garage door,
Yes.
and then you're gonna put it where your downspout is, so that means it's gonna go probably about 3.5 feet to the right, so we'll put that.
Yeah, almost to the doorway.
Middle of the man door.
Yeah. Yes,
Are we sure that that's 2 foot and 3 foot turns from the house?
yes.
It's not impacting the door, the man door in and out of the
No,
garage.
it opens to the inside
Okay.
of the garage. And when I put the 5 foot on the property line, that was just an estimate because when I turned it into the building code people, I didn't have that measurement, but you guys let me put the garage up, so, you know, and it met the specifications of 3 foot, so, and, yeah.
I guess it's more of a question for us to the city. Can we amend our support for the variance to include the 3 foot distance instead of 6 that the code would require? I don't have an answer to that unless the city has clarification.
I guess my question to legal would be, since we're reviewing the spirit and intent, and we're viewing this as a practical difficulty, why would we not be able to change to accommodate in this case? So I'm getting a little lost in some of the 3 foot setback language. I'm trying to focus on this, but you mentioned about whether or not it would have to be a public notice. But I'm looking at, if we're looking at this as a practical difficulty, and we're looking at spirit intent, would that not give us some flexibility to accommodate what's being done here? I mean, he's requesting a variance. Are we not deliberating to address that variance with spirit intent?
Or is granting the actual variance of setting a carport here as a sum total of its parts, therefore taking care of all issues that arise from that?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Does that work?
I mean, I would see it as that, but
You know, obviously we want legal on this. We can always continue to go through that process if that's what's required, but that would be my question, is why can we not just do that under practical difficulty and look at the spirit and intent? we would be making some change to that positioning regardless, so how does that substantively change the outcome? Why would we have to do a public notice for anything else that we're doing here?
So I'm going to change my opinion on that because I'm looking at the applicant's, I'm looking at his application, and his application is to put the metal carport in front of the garage to be freestanding or attached as needed. And there is no reference in the application as to whether or not it needs to be in the side yard or the rear yard. And so though that is what the staff report reflects, that it needs to be in the rear yard, and I was just asking Claire if we knew what the notice to the neighbors stated, but the likelihood is it said carport. So if the board, what I would want to make sure is that the board, we make it crystal clear in the record, right, that in the future, if anyone looks at this and says, well, why is it this many feet from the house and not that many feet, that it's been all addressed in the variance.
You could,
Yeah.
if you would, maybe help us and just make certain we get the motion correct as we do that.
So I think if we could, can you put that, the dimension, the drawing up again, thanks. So we're talking about the, specifically the 3 foot issue between the carport and the garage, correct? And then also the issue between the carport and the side of the house being 2 or 3 feet. Okay, so let's find those sections of the code.
Words such as provided that X not be exceeded, or
So you'd be looking to grant a variance from 120601B12B, which is the dimensional requirement for the 6 feet between structures on the lot. And you'd be granting, you'd be discussing granting it between carport and garage and carport and house.
Someone like to make that motion?
I'd love to if I knew how.
Yeah, really.
That's 120601 is the,
I'll make the motion if somebody will write it.
120601 is what was applied for originally, and then 120601-12B.
If you'd like me to read out a motion for someone to so move, we could do it that way. Would that work? Okay, let's take a stab at this. This would be, gathering the board's looking for a motion to approve? Okay, a motion to approve the variance from section 1206, motion to approve a variance from section 120601, requiring an accessory structure to be in the home's rear yard to allow it to be in the side yard, as well as dimensional variance from section 1206.01B12B, which requires structures to be within 6 feet of each other, more than 6 feet from each other on a lot, allowing the carport to be within 3 feet of the existing garage and within 2 feet of the existing residence.
So moved, and you're good.
Somebody should tack a few decision standards in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we mentioned number 9, is that the hardship provision, number 9? And
Actually, you should move it.
yeah.
You should be the one, you move.
I will, so moved, I'll make that motion, and I will cite variance criteria 9.
I'll second.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich?
Yes.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Mr. Henry's my dad.
Thank you.
Much.
All right, you're
And
welcome.
thank you, Ms. Blankenship, for making that motion.
Yes, thank you.
We can pull a seat up
I was
here.
going to try. It would have taken longer.
Okay, that moves us to old or new business. Any old or new business tonight? I will say, once again, we have Ms. Claire Fetters with us. We are new city planner. We've had Ms. Blankenship with us now several times. We're off to a good start here. So I don't know if the board has any comments or anything, but certainly welcome, and we appreciate you being with us here in the city.
Happy to be here.
Okay, well, that brings us to adjournment. I think we have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Was up there, it looks like that.
Yeah, yeah.